What's up, everybody? Mike here, and in this video I'm going to be going over how Hidetaka Miyazaki addresses talks and speculation about an easy mode for Elden Ring. So for those that have been clamoring for, Souls games having an easy mode or difficult settings, things like that, it's just not going to happen. These games are not designed that way. The game director Miyazaki, who's made Elden Ring, who's made a Dark Souls trilogy, well, with the exception of Dark Souls 2, he wasn't the game director for that because he was busy making Bloodborne at the time, and also the original Demon Souls, has explained during an interview why the game cannot be made easier or why different difficulty modes are not being considered. It made it clear that Souls-like games are not for everyone. That's the reality. That's just like any game. Like, some will argue, yeah, video games in general are meant for everybody, but honestly, there are certain games that are just not meant for everybody. And Souls games are definitely not, because if you don't have the patience, don't have the, will and everything like that to keep going with these games and, just the drive to continue and just brush it off, get back up on your feet, in a sense, in the game to try again, yeah, you will not, you will not be playing these games for long. In our interview with The Guardian, Miyazaki discussed the requests that have been made over time to make Elden Ring more accessible to more players. And in my opinion, real quick, before I talk about his response, Elden Ring overall is a very approachable game. Like, it's the most approachable Souls game ever made. You can make Elden Ring so freaking easy if you really want to. It's just a matter of grinding the levels if you want to do that early on, or just doing the natural progression grind. You don't really have to grind at all in this game if you just do the regular progression of stuff, basically. But there are certain areas, early game, mid game, and late game, you can grind in to get your levels up. And there's so many different build varieties here. Mage builds are some of the most OP builds still to this day. And not just them, but other builds too. So technically, you can make this game without mods as easy as you want, based on your build alone, at least in terms of the base game content. And I would even argue probably at some point to the extent of in the DLC too. I'm gonna get onto that more in a bit. But Miyazaki, his response is, though perhaps not pleasing to everyone, seems quite logical. So he says, if we want everyone to play, we could lower the difficulty more and more. But that was not the appropriate strategy. If we'd done that, I don't think the game would have worked in this way. He understands that the sense of pride that players feel when overcoming these obstacles is a fundamental part of the experience. If we lowered the difficulty, we would take that happiness away from the game, and in my view, it would break it. Shout out to Erdtree adds new bosses to Elden Ring and promises to push the player to reach new limits. In fact, you have to overcome obstacles before being able to play it, as you need to defeat Mohg. Not only Mohg, but you have to defeat Radahn. But yeah, so according to the game director, like, it just would break the game, it would not make sense. And to me, that, that's intended. This is intentional game design stuff here. And I know there's been a lot of controversy when it comes to the Steam version being review bombed because of the DLC's much more challenging difficulty, things like that. And it sucks. It sucks that it's like that, I feel like that's maybe the wrong aspect we should be looking at. I'm not saying people aren't entitled to their opinions, because they are. Everyone is. You bought the game, you maybe had certain expectations for it. You didn't think it was going to be that challenging. Maybe you're going to think it was going to be the same challenge as the base game, or whatever have you. But the thing is, the DLC, once you learn it, and, new talismans and weapons and boss fights, things like that, it's going to be, figured out to the point where you can make that easy mode as well, too, without mods. What I do think is a critical thing to keep letting From Software know, like in these reviews here on Steam I'm looking at right now, is the fact that, yeah, technical issues. These I can agree with. When a PC game, and not just that, a console game too, has technical issues like what these folks are talking about here, that needs to be addressed more so, and I think is the bigger concern. This person, first off, the DLC is amazing. The only problem is that ever since this patch, I haven't been able to run it without extremely low FPS drops and audio glitches almost every second. I've tried every fix known to man. Hope that I'm not the only one having this problem. I really want to play this game. That sucks. Really cool final boss. Part of the moveset is lowering your FPS below 30 mid-fight, and also casts FPS stutters as an attack effect. That, that's horrid. And then this person saying don't recommend it until performance will be fixed. It talks about some PCU specs here. basically talking about the game had smooth 1080 60 FPS before this patch, and now it's lagging even outside of the Shadowlands on low specs. Huge input delay due to this lags, and some bosses nearly unplayable because of that. I'll return and change this review to positive once it'll be fixed. So yeah, I feel like these are the main concern more so than the whole drama of it being too hard versus, you know, me not too hard or whatever, basically. Um, it's unfortunate this is going on, but yeah, it's happening. This patch, I'm sure From Software will get it handled. They'll work on it hopefully within the next few weeks. Maybe, I don't know how fast they're gonna work on this, but hopefully get maybe a new patch update that fixes these issues, because yeah, that sucks. I'm personally playing it on console on PS5, and there was an issue too with that, a minor one, but hopefully there's a patch or update or something that fixes that too. Basically, for those that don't know, on the PS5 version at least, I'm not sure if this is affecting Xbox players, but you had to restart your PS5 just to have the NPC pop up that you're supposed to talk to start the DLC in the area where Moog is after you defeat him. I'm not sure why that was a thing, you know, because people who bought it, you know, on PS5 and I think PS4 as well too, were going through those issues. Purchased it, downloaded it, and everything like that, but it wasn't popping up. I looked online, found out people were saying you had to restart your PS5 just to make it work properly and start it up. Minor thing, but still kind of a bit frustrating, you know? I can see it's being very frustrating to people, so, and PCs having technical issues worse than console, that needs to be addressed, that needs to be fixed. But when it comes to the DLC being too difficult, I've been having fun with it. I know it's difficult, I knew what to expect, I know what I'm getting into, like, I don't know if there's just a lot of people that just never played a Souls game before, and they're just thinking like, oh man, oh my god, I can't do this. Or if it's just like a lot of casuals saying this, because I feel like a lot of the veterans that, you know, like myself would agree, like, yeah, we wanted a more challenging experience, or we expected a more challenging experience in the base game. Like, this is a From Software game. This is how these games are meant to be, you know. And even Miyazaki confirmed that, essentially, in his dev team confirmed that, like, yeah, they're essentially trying to push the limits on players when it comes to difficulty. And there's literally things within the game. That's another thing too that kind of kills me about some of this discourse, is that they literally have in-game items, scatter tree fragments, and revered spirit ashes that you can go around the world and get, all right, and collect and consume within game to make you stronger, to make your spirit ashes stronger, to make your torrent horse stronger and more resilient to damage. And not only that, you get new talismans that'll help you out. And if you got certain talismans already, like the Dragon Crest Great Shield talisman, which is going to enormously help, you know, boost damage mitigation. Like, there's so many tools and things within the game that will help you. Is it going to make you impervious to damage altogether or barely take a lick? No. No. But it is going to significantly reduce the overall damage to what enemies and bosses do to you. And you're going to be given the tools when it comes to weapons, things like that, and abilities to essentially wreck. So it all depends how you build your character out, you know? And Miyazaki wanted to make sure that when players win the DLC, regardless of their level, you know, whether it's level 200, 300, 400, they want to make sure that it's fair for everybody. It's an even playing field for everyone. And then when people going in OP, at least right away, into the DLC, just smashing through enemies like it ain't nothing. So honestly, I'm cool with it. I like that approach. But yeah, and I'm a guy who used to never be into Souls games at all. Their game of time of day, none of that, you know. And I honestly fell in love with them. So think about this too as my last thought here, guys, when it comes to this. You got people that are complaining about this, about being too hard, right? Some of these people, maybe a lot of them, didn't grow up in the 90s and 80s like many of us did, who used to play games without autosaves, without manual saves. I'm talking about beat 'em ups and platformers type of style of games, and older RPGs too in some cases, where if you died or something else happened, you lost all that progress and got to do it all over again. Just keep in mind that we have it so good today. And maybe it's because we have it so good today in terms of like how spoiled we are with all the quality of life changes in gaming and whatnot in general, that sometimes people forget how it used to be. Or they just don't know. So games like, you know, Battletoads, Streets of Rage, you know, even Mario to some extent and whatnot, before, you know, a lot of gamers figure out speed runs and this and that, and certain tricks to the trade and whatnot, more so than ever these days. Yeah, it used to be just as bad in terms of difficulty, if not worse in some situations than it is now. So overall, we got it good. regardless of how you may feel about the DLC being more challenging, we honestly truly got it good. Now, you can call me out and for defending it or whatever have you. I don't care. From Software is one of my favorite devs, and I'm a little biased, yes, but objectively speaking, as well, we got it really fucking good overall. Not saying that technical issues are justified because those need to be addressed and fixed, but I think those are more important than, you know, the discourse over like, oh, it's very hard or whatnot. Because yeah, it's just, I don't know. And some stuff that people are saying whatnot is just kind of ridiculous. And it's like, what do you expect? Like, this has been a franchise or a subgenre that's From Software's made and started up literally for years or over like many years ago, and it's been a thing. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think, guys, about this, and how do you feel about the DLC so far, and how are you enjoying it or are you hating it? You know, love to hear from you either way. Because like I said, you're entitled to your opinion. Not mad at anyone for that. It's just, I just hate when stuff like this happens, you know. All this discourse and controversy and drama over something like this. Anyway, but that's it from me, guys. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. My name's Mike. Thanks for watching.